Hey everyone, this is Alan over at Cobblers Plus in Denver, and today we're going to be working on these pair of Louboutins to be putting on a protective sole from Vibram like that there. But before we really get into it, I would really like to start out by saying these are actually a fake Louboutin. And the reason why I'd like to start out by saying this is to help some of you understand that Louboutin shoes are very, very high quality. They're very detail oriented about how they take care of their footwear and finish it out. And just to give you an idea about how to be able to determine whether your Louboutins are real or fake, I just wanted to show you, and this would be a perfect prime example to show you of a fake pair. Unfortunately, I don't have a real pair here today. My last pair of Louboutins were just picked up yesterday evening, and for this video I was not able to have a sample pair of a real pair on me at the moment. But luckily I had these ones to at least show you some of the details you want to look out for when you're trying to determine whether they're real or not. Some of you ladies I know, and even men too, who purchase Louboutins online, really pay attention closely to some of the images and pictures. One of the very first things you always start out with is looking at the sole. Now, in the video it looks fairly shiny, but when we start to get a little bit closer, I don't know if you can quite see it, but there's a little bit of nicking right there in the paint, as well as a little bit of black on the red there. Louboutin are very well known for being very detail oriented, where they would not have such a thing. On top of that, this red here, this shade of red, is not the same. It's actually a little bit closer to, I guess you could say, the cherry family. Some of the fake ones will be closer to the orange family as well, where a real Louboutin is more of a true red color, and it doesn't vary on the shade all that much. It might be off on a slight, like half a pigment at most, a single pigment off in shade of color, but the knockoff ones, they're off significantly. And I mean, this one again, I don't know if the camera's quite catching it, but it is definitely off significantly if you were to see it in person. The other one is the insoles. Now you can see this logo, there's something off on it, just something. I don't know if the glare will kind of, let me see if I can get this to stop glaring so much. There we go. Use my hat there. But you can see that it's off a little bit. Something's off. You can't quite place your finger on it or what it might be, but there's something off about it. Now you can see here closer to the edge of the N, it's a little too close to the edge of that sole, that insole. You know, that's one of the key things that will also give it away. Louboutin's logo will be much more centered, and it won't be that close to the edge as well. And the other one is also, of course, you can see that there's just something off about it. If something seems very off about the logo, you can't place your finger on it, 9 out of 10 times it's not a real one. You know, the logo really is one of the bigger giveaways. Now you could get into more detail about, you know, the thickness of the sole. You know, this is a fairly thick sole there. You know, Louboutins is a little bit finer, more, you know, elegant looking, where this one is fairly hefty. Now again, this is on most of the ladies' shoes and some of the men's models that they have. But again, depending on which shoe you're getting, of course, if it's more of a men's shoe, most of those have actually a thicker sole. But on the ladies' shoes, when they're a pump, a high heel of some sort, they'll actually have a much nicer, finer, and thinner sole on it, not this thick. And of course, you know, visually just kind of look over the shoe to see, you know, the feel of it and everything. If something feels off, 9 out of 10 times, if it feels or looks off, it is a fake. You know, it's a little harder to tell, of course, with a worn or used pair, but you can still at least tell a little bit. So that can give you some ideas when you're shopping around for Louboutins. You find an amazing deal, you know, a pair that, you know, was barely worn, maybe had like a few scuffs here on the bottom of the sole where it's usually worn, and the heel is a little bit because it was worn for 2 or 3 events ever for just like a couple of hours at a time with minimal walking. You know, it's one of those things you're still able to tell if it's real or not. You know, and again, even some of the fake ones, they're actually making so well that it's very hard to tell if they're real or fake, even through Louboutin directly. I had a pair like that, and I mean, this pair looked perfect. I wish I had a picture of it, but unfortunately it was very, very damaged. I mean, the heel was snapped here, the sole was just worn out completely, and we were trying to get an original replacement for the heel from Louboutin. As we started measuring things out, and we were working with Louboutin on it, it turns out that that particular model had a heel originally that was half the size of what we were measuring. This pair looked absolutely perfect. We sent out pictures, we sent out, you know, everything we needed to, all the information to Louboutin, and even they could not tell if it was a real or a fake from everything else. But the size of the heel made a huge difference, because that particular size of heel that came on that shoe did not match up what they had originally the shoe made with. You're gonna have copycats, you're gonna have cheap knockoffs. Now granted, some of these cheap knockoffs aren't too bad either, but you know, they're gonna be knockoffs, so just kind of expect that. Don't expect you know, that shoe to necessarily last as long as an original one will. And of course, we can start getting down to more detailed things like paying attention to stitch work, you know, paying attention to, you know, the heel wrap, but that gets really, really complicating and too detailed, so we're gonna avoid that for today. But anyways, like I was mentioning, we're going to be putting on these Vibram protective soles here onto these Louboutin shoes, and it's going to allow for some better traction, a little longer wear, and it's going to keep the red sole for a longer period of time. Now the process is exactly the same, whether it's a real or a fake pair of Louboutins. We have to charge the same because the price is not going to make any difference of the original cost of these shoes, because the process is going to be exactly the same. It runs $75 a pair through us to do a red protective sole, whether you're doing the Vibram, the GTO, which seems to match the original ones actually a little bit better in color, or the Caselli mirror finish like that there. They're all red, all rubber, all the way through, so as you're wearing them, it's going to stay red for longer, plus the grip aspect of it. But again, there are places that will do it for cheaper. I've seen some places do it for 30 or 40 bucks. But the process that we do, we make sure that these are as safe as possible. Regardless if they're real or fake, we're going to treat them the same. We're going to start out by always taping everything off all around the edges here so that it protects that upper, just in case if something happens during the repair process where something could end up potentially getting on that upper or nicking that upper. We want to protect it. We don't want to risk that. Now, if anything happens, we will definitely take full responsibility of any damages of the upper. But even then, it's still a bit of an issue. It's a hassle for you to have to deal with. You know, if you have one of the nice patent leather pair and all of a sudden it gets a little nick somewhere on the inside here or here, it's fairly upsetting. I know you're going to be wearing your shoes and you're going to put some miles on it, but when they're a brand new pair, you don't want to do anything to that upper that can potentially damage. And that's why we charge a premium price for it, to accommodate that. You know, you do it right the first time. If you're wanting to save your money and go to someplace cheaper, by all means, but at that point, if the upper, especially on a patent leather shoe, if it is damaged, nothing can be done to the patent leather. You cannot fix patent leather. Cobblers have tried and experimented with countless things. We talk in a community all the time, trying to figure out techniques, throw ideas at each other that may possibly work, but once that upper here is damaged, it's done for. Heel bases, if you have a patent leather heel, the whole heel can come off and we can replace that entire section. But as far as this upper here, we can't replace that whole area unless we have an original Louboutin last, which of course we cannot get. That is their property. They will not send it to anyone to even borrow or anything, to prevent, of course, things like this, fake ones coming out. So just be advised, you know, if you're wanting to save some money, that's your decision. But if you're going to be investing money into a pair like a real Louboutin shoe, it's better to pay that extra little bit, just to get it done right. There's a handful of cobblers that do the same process and will treat your shoes right. All right, so I'm going to start out by taping off the uppers. We're going to use a delicate tape because this is a suede. It's lower grade suede. I could tell you off the bat from the feel that it's lower grade, definitely than what Louboutin would wear, but we're using 3M tape, which is the most safest that you can use on the uppers. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera so I'm not wasting your time too much, and I'll show you what it's going to look like once we're finished. All right, so we'll see you back here in just a little bit. All right, so we're back here again. We got everything taped off on the uppers. Kind of gives you a better perspective to see, just how wide that sole is originally. So, that's fairly wide there. Plus, it's beaten up a little bit. You can see some of that scuffing, which original Louboutins don't have that kind of beaten up look on it. Definitely. I mean, if they were a worn pair, that'd be understandable. That can get beaten up, but you can tell right there they're brand new. Whoever this lady got them from, they even had a sticker. Returns will be only... All right, let me read that. Returns will only be accepted if the sticker remains attached. So, they even put a warning label on there. I've never seen that on a pair of real Louboutins. But anyways, we've got the uppers protected. Looks very crude, of course. It's tape, and we're trying to put on a straight piece of tape around something that's rounded and shaped and everything as well. So at this point, we're just gonna end up marking up where our sole is going to go. I gotta make sure to trim this up a little bit. Now these come out of sheets, larger sheets, so we have to make sure we cut them out and size them accordingly. So they're not all pre-cut always. I mean, like these guys are, but still they're much larger, so that we're able to make sure we get the whole surface area. But anyways, at this point, we've got our protective sole cut out. We're just going to take a back end of our knife here to mark. We don't like to use pen too much because it does leave ink marks, of course. Sometimes they're a little hard to remove and even cover up too. And by covering up, I mean we do have different solutions that are designed for it. A protective sole or sole guard, some of you may know, will definitely stay red longer period of time because it's red all the way through. Not like a clear protective sole. Some of you may have seen those. Unfortunately, they're more of like a one-time use considered to be. They're the same equivalency as tape. I've actually contacted the 3M company whose tape I'm using here. I've contacted them directly because they manufacture a lot of products like that, and we tried working something out possibly that was clear but also durable for impact. Unfortunately, anything that is clear, it's durable potentially being stretched out and pulled, but it is not durable for impact and, in other words, grinding as well, because when you're walking, you're grinding your foot against the surface area of whatever you're walking on. So a clear material is not going to be durable, and it's going to be very, very temporary. So protective sole will be your number one option. A walk-on red surface recovery solution like this will definitely be your option number 2. Option 3 is leaving it as is, and option 4, of course, is putting on a temporary clear piece as well, but that's up to you completely. Now, as far as the colors to match them up, you're never going to be able to do that because Louboutin has a patent on that exact shade of red worldwide. So no company that manufactures a product for shoes or any kind of footwear can match that exact same color of red to go on the bottom of the sole. It can't be a protective sole, it can't be an acrylic paint or a base coat of any kind. Now again, you can match something up kind of as a mixture of nail polish or whatever it may be and get that exact same shade, but it's not going to last you very well. So that's the problem with matching that color exact. So any cobbler you go to, any place you go to or ship it out, you're not going to have that exact same color of red. Unfortunately, it is impossible. So just want to get that out of the way for many of you who may be asking, why are my protective soles not the same color? It's against the law. literally. It is against the law because Louboutin has patented that specific color of red for their soles. No one can match it. And that's why the knockoffs are always off just a little bit. But anyways, we've got that marked up. There's a little faint line there, as you can see. We always try to make sure we get it above that logo, even if it's a fake one. And we're just gonna mark it, and we don't like to use that pen again. And we're just gonna leave that mark there so that we know what we're sanding out, because we do have to, of course, sand out this finish here so that we have a proper surface area to glue off of. Or to glue onto, I'm sorry. Alright. Always try to get them lined up as much as possible. Now, one thing I have noticed, there are some cobbler shops that unfortunately they go a little too far with their protective soles, and it's a shame. I mean, you're supposed to protect that Louboutin logo as much as possible, and that's what we try to do as well. But they unfortunately end up with that protective sole. You can see my little faint line right there, very faint, but unfortunately sometimes they move this protective sole down like that, overlapping that Louboutin logo, and we don't want to do that. We want to keep that intact as much as possible. Now I'll talk some more about a few other things down the road when we're getting ready to do more things to these shoes, but at this point these are all ready to be sanded up, and we're just gonna glue everything together, stick the sole on. And so I'm not wasting anyone's time too much, I'm gonna skip over, well, I'll probably skip over a lot of it, but I'll at least show you the processes in a faster speed, I guess you can say, and fast forward the video for you. But let's go ahead and move on then. Alright, so we're over here at our sander now. We're about to get ready to sand out on our machine here. We're just going to follow a straight line right there and sand everything out. And I'm not going to mess with that sticker too much. Oh, actually, I guess I'll go ahead and... it rips. It's one of those rippable stickers, so just have to sand it out. But anyways, we're going to sand that section out and then also rough these up just a little bit more so that the adhesive binds better to it, and as well as this edge right here, we're going to bevel it down just a little bit more so that when we put this on right there, if I could show it, when we put it on, it's as flush as possible. You know, we try to get it as perfect as possible, but sometimes it's not perfect. But we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'll just fast forward this area for you so I'm not blabbing too much. Alright, so we're all done. As you can see, we've sanded everything out. Got a little dust on there. We're going to have to blow it off with the compressed air. And then we're just going to start getting everything glued up. And when it's time to stick the sole on, I'll meet you back over and you'll see the process of how we do it all. So I'll see you back in just a little while. Alright, we're back here again. It's time to get the sole glued on. Just took this out of the oven now, and we're just going to try to line it up as perfectly as possible. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to use a regular hammer. Now today's the end of the day. I'm not going to hammer and talk. Today's the end of the day, so I'm gonna allow this to cure and sit overnight so that tomorrow morning I can continue working on trimming everything out and getting it to work right. I'm going to leave the tape on, of course, and everything too, so that when we're trimming it, we can make sure that everything is safe and protected. Now this is kind of a good example of a reason why we prefer to do the tape, because you never know that you might get just a little bit of glue there like that. And you know, with a patent leather, for example, it's perfectly fine. I mean, it's easy to clean off. But when you get a suede or, you know, some other leather, sometimes it could get a little iffy. And even with the patent leather, we'd still prefer to be extra cautious about it. Now at this point, I'm just going to take my hook knife and cut everything off. Now a lot of times with our soles that we do, we use our press to press everything down, but because most of the Louboutins, even the fake ones, and a lot of the ladies' soles, they're a little bit more delicate, I guess you could say, we try not doing the press just because the presses are not exact. I mean, they're close. We have different sizes, different angles of, you know, lasts. They're designed to go inside here and just press it down into a foam material, pressing everything together. But because of ladies' high heels being a little more delicate, and pumps, you know, they're a little more iffy. We'd rather be safer and just use strictly our hammer. We have better control over it that way, and then just allow more time for it to cure properly, like overnight. So at this point, we're basically done for today with what we can do on it, and then tomorrow we're just going to trim it out. You saw me cut it fairly close there, but there's still a little bit sticking out that we're going to have to go through on a trimmer to get it as flush as possible, and basically touch up anything else we may need to. All right, so we'll see you guys later. All right, everyone, so we're back here again. I've allowed these to cure nicely overnight and everything. Now we're going to go ahead and trim out these edges a little bit closer. We have our trimmer over here, and also what's called a numb keg. It's a softer sandpaper basically, sorry. But it's softer, and it will give us a nice finished edge, as well as kind of bevel that sole just a little bit. And on top of that, we'll be able to hit this very, very slightly. Now most of the time with a lot of the other soles, like the GTO or the mirror finish that we have, we don't actually have to hit it on the sander a little bit here because it sits so flush. But it's also because those materials are a little bit denser, so they're easier to work with for us as far as laying it out flush without sanding this. Now the Vibram sole, which we're using here today, it's a lot softer. It's gonna grip better, but because it's softer, it's a little bit more stretchy. So when it's warmed up, it kind of starts to overlap this little gap right here, and we want to make sure to even it out as much as we can before doing much else with it. But we'll go ahead and get started and continue on, and you'll see what we're going to do afterwards to take care of that red just a little bit, and then as well as the edges. So go ahead and get my hat out of the way here, and let's get started. So as you can see there, we've got everything sanded out a little more, so now this is perfectly smooth, so no corners or anything will catch on anything you may possibly trip over, or a ledge, or whatever it may possibly be. Alright, so we're back here again, but I decided to show you real quick a side-by-side comparison of fake Louboutins as well as a real pair. Now, at first glance, a lot of times it's a little hard to tell if they're real or fake, But as we started out in the beginning, I had mentioned that these are fake. I explained how the lettering here is just not printed right. The logo of the Christian Louboutin, the whole name, the sizing, it's not printed right. You know, you can kind of tell there that it's a little discolored. So they put a finish on it on this sole, and then they stamped it afterwards, and the coloring is very off. Now here's another fake one I'll show you right here. You know, it looks pretty real there, but there is something off, very off. At first glance, when I got these in, I actually thought they were real. Just at very first glance, when I was writing up the order and everything, I thought they were real, but they are not. They are very off, actually, as I looked a little bit closer. One, the logo there, you can kind of see it's, sorry, it's all glared. It's really distorted. It's just not as elegant. There's something very off about it, and that's one of the first giveaways. The other thing, this insole here is actually man-made material. Louboutins, the real ones, they're actually leather. They're not man-made like this is. It's going to be hard for you to tell for sure. The other one is this patent leather is actually not real leather. It is patent, of course, but it's a man-made synthetic. Regular patent leather, of course, too, real one from Christian Louboutin. It technically is man-made as well. They take a leather sheet and they put something equivalent to almost like a shrink wrap on it. It's a very durable but thin plastic sheeting material that goes right over top of it. Also known as kind of like a clear coat too. Makes it that patent leather, and that's why it makes it so difficult and actually impossible to actually repair a section of patent leather if it's damaged on the upper. If the heel is damaged, we can replace it, but because this is a fake one, it is going to be next to impossible matching up that shade there actually. Now the other thing is I want to mention and show, you can see that imprint there. It's very deep. I mean, it's a lot better than, say, this one was. I mean, side by side, they're very different. But the problem is here, there's something off about it. The logo, again, is very off. It just seems a little, I guess you could say, not as elegant as well. And it's just a little too deep. It's as if the machine had some issues when I was pressing down. Another part is this cracking down in here. It's not exactly cracking, it's really wrinkled heavily. The real Louboutins, they don't wrinkle that much down here in the base of the heel when they wrap this full leather sole going down and they stretch it over this section. It does not wrinkle, not this much. I mean, so that's going to be one of your other giveaways. Now, right here, I have a well-loved pair of real Louboutins. I mean, you can see that they're really beaten up. There's some kind of residue or something on there, but you can see that logo there. It's a little bit finer. I mean, it's just not it's not as intense, even though it's a used pair, but the logos, they don't really get much wear. This one is really there. You could see it very well on camera, where this one here, it's a little bit finer. Let's see if we can take a look there, possibly. Similar issue there, but it's a lot more elegant looking. It just looks detailed. It looks very detailed, and they put the logo on before putting on any kind of finish again, and they don't really put it in that deep like this pair they had here. And the other one is, again, you know, these are well loved, but that logo, the signature of Christian Louboutin logo, it looks a lot finer. You can see the line underneath here. It just seems very fine. Plus, on top of that, this is real leather here, where, as I said, this one is not. And I don't know if you can possibly see it without the glare too much, but that line right there underneath the Christian Louboutin is a little too fat and a little off. I mean, I understand that sometimes a machine can have a slight error, but not to that extent, and not so much. I mean, Christian Louboutin would probably catch that very quickly if their machine was having an issue printing that name and logo there. Even the Paris, you know, the little logo there, there's the real one right there, and there's the fake one. I mean, there's just something off. You know, you can see that P possibly, oops, let's drop that pair. that P is a little off, you know, and it's just one of those things that look out for small fine details like that. Sorry about that, keep getting cut out, but I just want to show you a side-by-side comparison of a pair that is real, a fake pair, and another fake pair. Very, very common that we see things like that. We see a lot of real ones, we see a lot of fake ones, and some that are so real looking but are fake that, you know, even Christian Louboutin, sometimes somebody working there has issues telling apart if they're real or fake. So I just want to give you an idea. Now, again, at first glance, I thought this pair was real. As I looked a little bit closer at all the detailing, it turned out to be very fake. This one was obviously fake. As you can tell, the shading is off in the color right there. And then we'll put this one aside. This one was a lot closer to the original, and then you can tell that's different. This is the real one, this is the fake one, you know. This one has more of an orangish tint to it. This one has more of a true red to it. The other thing is the color. That is just a little too off for original Louboutin. I know Louboutin is known, and you know, for doing some interesting and fun colors, but some of their nude colors like this, they don't have this kind of a yellowish tint. If anything, they have more of a pinkish tint like that, and a beige. And that's almost every single Louboutin that I have seen that is, you know, more dressy like that. Let's go ahead and continue on finishing these out. I'll probably make videos on each of these, possibly two if I have more time, but it's been crazy busy. So let's go ahead and get all this cleaned up and get going on these. All right, so we'll see you back here in just a second. All right, so we're back here again now. Now we're gonna go ahead and do the edges on it, but first I'm gonna blow it off with compressed air. Make sure to get any dusts off first. Probably should have done that before I did the side-by-side comparison for you, but it really didn't make much difference. But anyways, so right now we're actually going to be using our black Angelus acrylic paint. We could use an edge varnisher as well, but the acrylic paint tends to get in nicer into these fibers here, and it really covers things up nicely, as well as seals up the leather better, and just looks a bit nicer too. Now if you're doing this yourself at home, now this again is going to work best on your black ones or any that have a black edging. But the Angelus acrylic paints, they do have a larger variety of color options too. So you don't necessarily have to have an issue with potentially matching up the color if you really wanted to. You know, from the edge, it's hard to see, but that's roughly what it looks like. There's still kind of a thick coat on there, but because I was trying to get that so much, this is why we have the tape there. Some cobblers don't put that tape on there, and that's why they can charge so much less than us, but that can happen to your Christian Louboutins. Now granted, some of the materials like patent leather, you can wipe it off, but if it's missed, your Louboutins have a nasty little spot there. Plus we have different applicators too. We have different forms of brushes, we have rollers. You know, it just depends on the model. This one, again, because it's one of their fake ones, well, not their fake ones, but it's a knockoff one made by someone else. A brush like this works very fine because it's a thicker sole. Alright, so we've allowed the acrylic paint to dry on the edges here nicely. You see that it's got a little bit of a shimmer there. Now, you can see in that video that it seems like it's kind of like uneven a little bit. That's actually due to the texturing here. You got a little bit of the logo from Vibram right there. There's a small chunk there, so it just makes it uneven looking when you start doing the finishes on the edges. Now when you got a smoother finish, a smoother surface like the mirror gloss sole, like this one here for example, that's completely smooth, no texture, it's a lot easier and it looks a lot cleaner when you're doing the edging on it as well. So that's gonna happen regardless of who's doing it or how it's done. You're gonna have that uneven look just because of the texture and tread on that protective sole. Now a lot of cobblers actually tend to miss this. A lot of facilities that do repairs, what they call them also, they actually ignore this spot right here where everything connects with glue. You know, there's always going to be just a little bit of glue. Even if it's a clear glue, there's still glue there. And it starts to show up over time. So we take one of these natural crepe bars like that there, and we'll just run through it, clean it up a bit. Makes it look a lot nicer. Now again, like I said, we did sand just a little bit, so you can see a few little light spots there. And of course there's going to be minor little spots like that with such a soft rubber that Vibram is that we put on. With the mirror gloss Caselli here is what it's called. With this one, because this is much denser rubber, it's a lot smoother finish. It transitions so smoothly, it's almost as if you can't even tell that there's one of these on. That's how much different it is. The GTO sole that we have does about the same thing, but it's a little more textured even than this is. So that's why we try to have a few options for you to be able to pick from what you would like to do. This pair again we're doing with the Vibram. Another pair, again one of those pairs that I was showing, we're going to be putting one of the Caselli protective soles, which is that mirror gloss, and the other one a GTO. So I'm really hoping I'm able to record the videos for those other two just to let you see what those are like down the road. So, you know, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications to be able to see those. But now that we've got that taken care of, now we're going to move on to our Angelus Walk-On Red. Angelus is one of the few companies that actually makes a paint basically designed and formulated to go on the bottom of soles like this. Now we like to touch it up, again because we're just touching it up, with a paintbrush. This is a finer paintbrush, it's not a nylon one, it's an actual painter's brush. And we just like to touch up that inner corner piece, any spots that may have been kind of lightened up during the process or anything, just like that. And then we take our finger and we run it all across to make sure everything's nice and smooth. All right, we'll wipe this off now. Okay, and voila, no more light spots there, and it matches it perfectly. I mean, you know, it actually matches the real one a lot better, the real Louboutins. But again, Christian Louboutin has a patent on that particular shade of red, that exact pigment. So no company can actually manufacture, no legitimate company at least, can manufacture a product or a sole that is the exact same color formulated for soles like this here. Now you can purchase this through Angelus or through us as well. We do sell this in our shop. We can mail it out or ship it out, I'm sorry, to you if you decide you want to order it through us and you're out of state. But this here can be applied using a brush. It does leave some streaking, so if you have a really beaten up sole and you don't want this protective sole put on there, you just want it to be repainted and refinished, you can either paint it on yourself, or what we do here at our shop, we actually clean it up very carefully using very fine sandpaper. We start out with a 500 grit to make sure we try to smooth things out, and then we move on to 1000 grit, and then we airbrush it on using one of these here very carefully. Of course, we tape it off even more. We actually tape off this whole section because the process, it does cost a little bit more than even doing the red protective sole, and it doesn't last as long, but it's very time consuming. So if you're just wanting it to be refinished a little bit better, we can definitely do that for you. Touch-ups also, if you beat up this inner piece here and you're getting the protective sole, we could definitely touch up this section back here a little bit as well with it. Again, it's an extra charge just because it's a more time consuming process. Plus when we use this with the airbrush, we actually have to mix it with specific formulated products to dilute it enough to go through the airbrush system and go on very nice and fine. But anyways, that's one of your options too. You know, I've seen some ladies using nail polish as well, that they're able to match the exact color. You could do that, but it actually really wears out fast. I mean, again, this stuff is very, very nicely formulated for putting on the bottom of your soles. Water doesn't distort it either. But anyways, that's what it looks like there. I'm gonna go ahead and finish out this other one off camera, and we're just gonna wrap things up. Again, I did buff this just slightly on our horsehair brush machine, just a little bit, to kind of make off any dust particles that may have been left behind and give it a little bit more of a shimmer. You can possibly see there, not too much. But anyways, before I keep talking too much, let's go ahead and get this all finished up and the video wrapped up. So we'll see you back here in just a little bit. Alright, so we're all finished up with these here. But anyways, you can see that it's all finished out there. The edge looks fairly nice. Again, it's a little rugged looking, but that's due to the tread pattern right there. Got that finished out there. Looks a little more flush, no discoloration of any kind. Now, again, as I had mentioned, you know, these aren't an original Christian Louboutin. They are a knockoff. So, you know, but we still do the same exact process as we do for the real ones, you know, because even the knockoff ones, they're not exactly that cheap necessarily. But you know, that's just the steps that we end up taking. Like I said, this is just the Vibram option that we have, that we've used. These are all three that we currently stock. There are a few other ones that we can get in. Our favorite always is going to be this Caselli mirror gloss here. Then the next one is the GTO. It's a little bit of a rougher tread pattern, but the red does seem to match the original Louboutins a little bit better. And then, of course, the Vibram one that everyone knows. There's also other brands such as Topi, some of you may know, Goodyear, who was it also? Cat's Paw, I believe it was. They had a red one. And there's a lot of them out there. There are also the clear ones. We don't stock the clear ones. We don't carry them because they are very, very temporary. The clear ones that go on, you know, by all means, if you'd like to order them yourself and put them on, but I just don't I don't recommend them, just because they're gonna wear out really quickly. They're designed specifically to be either a 1 to maybe a 4-time use at most, and if you end up wearing that out, you're gonna start wearing into that paint either way. I've talked to the 3M company that actually manufactures this tape here directly. We tried pondering ideas, throwing you know, thoughts back and forth a few times, but they said that, you know, anything clear just will not hold up to impact. They can make a lot of strong things such as tape that's clear for stretchable purpose, something that you can just, you know, tie around and really stretch and pull. But for impact purposes, such as, you know, for going on the bottom of a shoe, the specific mixture for that type of rubber or plastic is actually pigmented. It's got color in it, so it won't be durable, and so they can't manufacture something that will hold up to that. I've talked to Vibram and a few other companies too, in hopes to find that. 3M I just mentioned, just because, you know, they manufacture clear tape, they manufacture adhesives, and, you know, a lot of things that are clear, but even they can't seem to figure out something that may possibly work. The other one also, again, we were using the Angelus walk-on red and the Angelus acrylic paint for the edging. The acrylic paints, they have a lot of colors. I mean, you could even get creative if you really wanted to, you know, putting on a pink edge, you know, or, you know, a gold colored one, and you can mix and match the colors all you want too. So you could get really creative. You know, some people actually even get creative with, you know, coloring these straps here, for example. If you need something that's not just all black and it's outside of Christian Louboutin's original design, you can get creative, you know, for your own personal use. I don't know how Christian Louboutin's going to feel about that exactly, but, you know, it's, you purchased the shoes, you bought them, you know, you could do what you want with them. Just don't do anything to damage that Louboutin logo and the red sole, of course. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. This kind of gives you an insight of the process of what it takes to actually put on a red protective sole. Again, this was just the Vibram version. I've got a few other ones lined up for the GTO and the Caselli that I'm hoping to do some videos on for you too, to give you an idea of what that looks like. It's almost the same, but the finished product looks very different. So again, that's kind of what we have going on there for these. And you know, I hope you enjoyed it. If you're wanting us to work on any of your Louboutins or any other shoes or leather products, you could always swing by if you're here local in the Denver area. If you're outside of Denver or in a different state, you can always ship into us. Just go to our website, cobblersplusco, and go under the mail-in order section, follow the instructions, fill out the PDF form with all your information so that we're able to contact you. You know, once we receive the shoes, then we'll give you a call and, you know, talk about what kind of options we want to do. You know, if you have any more questions about wanting to get a hold of something like this, like the Walk-On Red product from Angelus, I'll leave a link down in the description to their direct page, so that you can purchase it either from them, or you can also send us a message or give us a call and you know, go through us if you like to, whatever works best. Going through Angelus might be a little bit easier because you'll just add it to cart. Going through us, unfortunately, we're a cobbler shop. We don't do mass retail with online stuff like this, so you'd either email or give us a call and we'll just do a payment either through PayPal or by phone or some other form of method. But anyways, before I keep really talking too much, this also was a good opportunity for me to show you a comparison of course, fake Louboutins versus real ones. If you have any other questions about that, feel free again to contact us or swing on by. We gladly do whatever we can to help you identify if your Louboutins are real or fake. Again, we are not a certified Louboutin, you know, verification location. I mean, I may possibly have to talk to Louboutin about that. If anybody at Louboutin is watching this, I'd love to get in contact with you guys to have, you know, a little better access to finding out more information about your real ones. But I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of real and fake Louboutins, so I think I can get fairly close on telling real from fake. So I think I might be able to help you out with that if need be. But anyways, you know, please subscribe again. Make sure to hit that notification icon to find out when we're letting out more videos. I'll be making more videos on these other red sole bottoms, side-by-side comparisons of different products. I have another video that I've already posted about the review of using this on the bottom of your sole along with other bottom stain treatments that some people may like to put it on the bottom of their shoe to just kind of treat that leather. And if you'd like to check that out, it's, I believe, the Saphir Sole Guard video. Saphir Sole Guard versus vegetable oil or something else versus other products. And there's a section towards the end talking about this guy here and doing a testing on it with the products that are also designed to go on the bottom of the sole. Anyways, thanks for watching. You know, we'll just see you next time.